You're going to fix her, and you're going to keep your mouth shut. Capone Bugsy's grip tightened around Clara Bailey's arm, slamming her against the cold metal of her Honda Civic. Rain streaked down the dimly lit parking garage at Las Vegas General Hospital. Clara's hands instinctively moved to protect her swollen belly. 7 months pregnant, exhausted from a brutal double shift, and now, face to face with the city's most notorious enforcer. Frank Bruno stepped from the shadows wearing a $1,000 suit that contrasted sickeningly with the violence in his eyes. He pressed a silenced pistol against Clara's temple. Behind him, a woman in designer clothes clutched a blood-soaked designer handbag against a gunshot wound in her shoulder. "I don't treat criminals," Clara whispered, her voice shaking but defiant. Bruno's finger moved toward the trigger. "Then you don't live to see that baby born." Just as death seemed certain, a low, bone-chilling growl echoed through the concrete structure. 2 amber eyes appeared in the darkness. A red laser dot landed squarely on Bruno's chest. Then a voice, calm, cold, absolute. "Step away from the woman. Now." Bruno had made a catastrophic mistake. Before we continue, tell me, where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. Subscribe to see how this unfolds, and I'd love to say hello to you just to know how far our story is going. 14 hours earlier, Clara Bailey had started what she thought would be just another exhausting shift in the emergency room at Las Vegas General. She was 28 years old, with shoulder-length auburn hair constantly pulled back in a practical ponytail, light blue scrubs that now stretched across her pregnant belly, and dark circles under her hazel eyes that spoke of sleepless nights and relentless dedication. Clara wasn't just any nurse. She was the kind of medical professional who stayed late, who remembered patient names, who fought for the forgotten and the vulnerable. Her colleagues called her Mama Bear because even before becoming a mother, she protected her patients with fierce determination. "Clara, we've got another OD coming in. 16-year-old, fentanyl probably." Nancy, the triage nurse, called across the emergency department. Clara's jaw tightened. That made 3 teenage overdoses in 2 days, all of them linked to a new drug flooding Las Vegas streets. Pills stamped with a scorpion logo. Pills that were killing kids faster than the ER could save them. "Get me the Narcan," Clara said, moving toward the trauma bay with the practiced efficiency of someone who understood that seconds meant the difference between life and death. The paramedics wheeled in a teenage boy, lips blue, skin pale as death. His mother ran behind the gurney, screaming, sobbing, begging God for mercy. Clara's hands moved automatically, checking vitals, administering medication, calling out orders. But inside, her heart was breaking. This boy looked exactly like her nephew. Same age, same hopeful face now twisted by the agony of drug poisoning. This has to stop, Clara thought as she fought to stabilize the patient. Someone has to stop this epidemic before it destroys every family in this city. She didn't know that within hours, she would become that someone. 14 hours is a long time to be on your feet when you're 7 months pregnant. Clara's back ached. Her ankles had swollen to twice their normal size. But the ER was understaffed and people were dying. "You should go home," Dr. Morrison told her around midnight. He was a kind man in his 50s, one of the few doctors who actually saw nurses as equals. "You've done enough today, Clara. That baby needs rest, even if you don't." "Just 1 more hour," Clara promised, knowing it was a lie she told herself every shift. "There's a car accident victim coming in, multiple traumas. I want to make sure—" "Clara," Dr. Morrison's hand was gentle on her shoulder. "You can't save everyone. Go home. Take care of yourself. Take care of that baby." She nodded, finally admitting defeat. She grabbed her jacket from her locker, said goodbye to the night staff, and headed toward the parking garage. The rain had started an hour earlier, a rare desert storm that turned Las Vegas into a slick, dangerous maze of neon reflections and dark corners. Clara's car was parked on the 3rd level of the garage, in a section where 2 of the overhead lights had been broken for weeks. She had reported it to security. They had promised to fix it. They hadn't. Clara walked quickly, her keys clutched between her fingers the way her father had taught her. The parking garage was eerily quiet. Too quiet. Her footsteps echoed off concrete walls. Somewhere in the distance, a car alarm wailed and went silent. She was 20 feet from her Honda when she heard the footsteps behind her. Not running, walking, confident, predatory. Clara's heart hammered. She walked faster, hand moving protectively to her belly. Don't look back. Get to the car, lock the doors. You're being paranoid. It's just another hospital employee. It's fine. You're fine. Nurse Bailey. The voice stopped her cold, not because it was loud, but because it carried the kind of authority that expected obedience. Clara turned slowly. 3 people stood between her and the safety of the stairwell. 2 men and a woman. The woman was clearly injured, blood seeping through expensive fabric. But it was the men who terrified Clara. The first was Capone Bugsy. She recognized him from news reports. Mid-30s, wearing too much jewelry, leather jackets slicked with rain, slicked back hair, and a cruel smile that promised violence. He looked like a caricature of a gangster, but the gun tucked into his waistband was very real. The second man was worse, Frank Bruno. Early 50s, perfectly tailored suit, silver at his temples, cold, dead eyes that had seen terrible things and felt nothing. He looked like a businessman. He was Las Vegas's most feared drug lord. "We need your help," Bruno said pleasantly, as if he were asking for directions. "The ER is inside. I can call someone." "We're not going to the ER." Bruno's smile never reached his eyes. "My associate here has a gunshot wound. You're going to treat it, quietly, privately. No questions, no records, no police." Clara's medical training kicked in automatically. The woman, 30s, blonde, beautiful despite the pain etched in her features, was clearly in shock. The wound looked like a through-and-through to the shoulder. Serious, but not immediately life-threatening if treated properly. But Clara's legal training kicked in just as quickly. "I can't treat a gunshot wound in a parking garage. She needs a hospital, proper equipment, antibiotics, imaging to make sure." "You have equipment in your car?" Bruno asked. It wasn't really a question. Clara's blood went cold. How did he know about the medical kit she kept in her trunk, the extra supplies she sometimes brought to underserved communities on her days off? "How do you—" "We've been watching you, Nurse Bailey." Bruno's smile widened. "For 3 weeks now. We know where you live. We know your routine. We know about your volunteer work. We know about the baby. We know everything." The threat hung in the air like poison. Clara's mind raced. She could scream, but who would hear her? The garage was isolated. Security rarely patrolled at this hour. She could run, but pregnant and exhausted, she wouldn't make it 10 feet before Capone caught her. She could cooperate, treat the woman, and pray they let her go afterwards. Or she could refuse and face the consequences. "I won't do it," Clara said quietly. The words surprised even her. "I took an oath. I save lives, but I don't help criminals avoid justice. That woman needs a hospital, and you need to turn yourselves in before—" Capone's fist connected with Clara's face. She hadn't seen it coming. One moment she was standing. The next, she was on the ground, tasting blood, her vision blurred with tears and pain. Her hands instinctively protected her belly as she fell. "You stupid—" Capone raised his foot to kick her. Bruno caught his arm. "Not the baby, not yet. Give her another chance to make the right choice." Capone yanked Clara up by her hair. She cried out, more from fear than pain. He slammed her against her car. The metal dented with the impact. "Fix Sophia," Bruno said calmly, as if discussing the weather, "or I put a bullet in that baby, then in you, then I burn down your apartment building just to make sure no one else gets brave ideas about telling me no." Clara looked at Sophia. Their eyes met.
For just a moment, Clara saw something in Sophia's expression. Not gratitude for the help being demanded, something else. Maybe regret or warning. "Please, just do what he says. I don't want anyone else to die because of me." Clara's heart hammered. Every instinct screamed at her to comply, to treat the wound, to stay alive, to protect her baby. But another voice, quieter but stronger, reminded her why she became a nurse: to stand for what is right, to protect the vulnerable, to refuse to be complicit in evil, even when the cost was everything.
"No," Clara said again. Bruno's expression didn't change, but his hand moved toward his jacket, toward the gun Clara now knew was there. "Then you've made your choice." The weapon appeared, small, black, deadly, a silencer attached. Bruno raised it toward Clara's face. This was it, the end. Clara closed her eyes, thinking of her baby, of the life they would never share, of all the good she would never do. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the child she would never hold. Then she heard the growl. The sound was low, menacing, primal. It reverberated through the parking garage like a warning from hell itself. Capone spun around. "What the?" Two eyes appeared in the darkness. Amber, intelligent, locked on target. Then the dog emerged into the dim light, a massive Belgian Malinois, 75 pounds of muscle and training, black face mask, ears forward, body coiled like a spring ready to release lethal force. At the dog's side, almost invisible in the shadows, stood a man. He wore civilian tactical gear, dark cargo pants, fitted black t-shirt, boots designed for combat. But it was his face that made Capone's hand freeze on his weapon. Weathered, calm, the face of someone who had seen worse than 3 criminals in a parking garage and wasn't impressed. Short military-cut hair, a scar near his left eyebrow, and eyes that had watched friends die and made the people responsible pay for it. Commander Barton Charles, Navy SEAL, home on leave to visit a wounded teammate, and completely unimpressed by gangsters playing dress-up. "I'm gonna say this once." Barton's voice was calm, conversational even. "Step away from the pregnant woman. Drop your weapons, get on your knees, or my canine partner Cooper here is going to show you what happens to people who threaten pregnant nurses." Cooper's growl intensified, his lips pulled back, revealing teeth that could crush bone. Bruno didn't lower his weapon. Instead, he pointed it at Barton. "You picked the wrong fight, soldier. I own this city. I own the police. I own judges. I own—" "You don't own me," Barton smiled. It wasn't friendly. "And you definitely don't own Cooper." A red laser dot appeared on Bruno's chest, not from Barton's position, from somewhere else in the garage. Backup. Another operator. Bruno's eyes widened slightly, the first crack in his confidence. "You're outnumbered," Bruno said, but his voice had lost its certainty. "Actually," Barton said pleasantly, "you are. Cooper counts as 3 men in a fight. I count as 5, and my spotter up there," he nodded toward the upper level where the laser originated. "He's never missed a shot in his life, so mathematically, you're facing 9 highly trained operators while you have 2 street thugs and a wounded girlfriend." Barton took a single step forward. "Still like your odds?" Capone's hand moved toward his gun. "Cooper, watch." The dog's entire body went rigid, his eyes fixed on Capone with the kind of focus that promised pain and suffering if provoked. "If that weapon comes out," Barton said quietly, "Cooper will remove your arm at the shoulder before you can pull the trigger. He's done it before, in Kandahar, to an insurgent who thought dogs were just pets." Capone's hand stopped moving. Bruno lowered his weapon slowly. His mind was calculating, running scenarios, weighing risks. "This isn't over," Bruno said finally. "Yes, it is.
Barton's voice hardened. "You're going to walk away. You're going to leave Las Vegas. You're going to disappear before I decide to make your entire operation disappear. Because if I see you again, if I hear you threatened this woman again, if you even think about coming back." He paused, letting the threat hang. "Cooper and I are going to pay you a visit, and we won't be as polite next time." Bruno stared at Barton for a long moment, then at Cooper, then at Clara, still slumped against her car, bleeding, terrified, but alive. "Help Sophia to the car," Bruno told Capone. Capone moved to support the wounded woman. They backed towards a black SUV parked 2 rows away. Bruno kept his eyes on Barton the entire time. "Remember my face," Bruno said. "Remember this moment, because next time we meet, you won't have the element of surprise. Next time we meet, you'll be in a federal prison cell, and I'll be the one who put you there." The SUV's engine roared, tires squealed. They were gone. Barton immediately moved to Clara's side. "Are you hurt? The baby?" Clara couldn't speak, couldn't process what had just happened. She had been seconds from death. Now she was alive, because a stranger with a dog had appeared from nowhere. "Ma'am, I need you to answer. Are you hurt? Is the baby okay?" Clara's hand moved to her belly. The baby kicked, strong, healthy, angry at being jostled. I think we're okay," Clara managed. "My face hurts, my back, but the baby's moving. That's good. That means—" Her legs gave out. Barton caught her before she hit the ground. Strong arms, steady, safe. "Easy. I've got you. You're safe now."
Cooper moved closer, his demeanor completely changed. The lethal weapon had transformed into a concerned guardian. He pressed his head against Clara's leg, offering warmth and comfort. "Who are you?" Clara whispered. "Commander Barton Charles, Navy SEAL Team 7. And this is Cooper. We were visiting a teammate in your ICU when we heard the commotion. You saved my life." "Not yet." Barton's expression was grim. "Men like Frank Bruno don't forgive humiliation. He'll be back. We need to get you somewhere safe." We all hate bullies who prey on the weak, especially those who threaten pregnant women just trying to do the right thing. If you think men like Frank Bruno deserve to be behind bars, comment "justice" below. Let's see how many of us stand on the right side of history. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now, because what happens next is going to blow your mind. Barton insisted on escorting Clara back into the hospital, not to the ER, too public, too many witnesses Bruno might intimidate, but to a private security office where hospital staff could examine her away from cameras and questions. A nurse Clara knew, Patricia, a kind woman who'd been at Las Vegas General for 30 years, cleaned the cut on Clara's lip and checked her vitals, while Barton stood guard at the door. "You need to file a police report," Patricia said gently. "What happened out there was assault." "Against Frank Bruno?" Clara laughed bitterly. "You don't know who he is. He owns half the police department. I file a report and I'm dead within a week." "Then we find cops who aren't on his payroll," Barton said from the door. "There are still good people in law enforcement. We just have to find them." "You don't understand." Clara winced as Patricia applied antiseptic. "Bruno runs this city. The drugs on our streets, the violence, the corruption, it all traces back to him. People have tried to stop him before. They end up dead, or disappeared, or suddenly recanting their testimony. I've dealt with warlords in Afghanistan who made Bruno look like a playground bully," Barton said quietly. "The difference between them and him is I wasn't allowed to operate on American soil against American criminals." He paused. "But I'm not operating in an official capacity right now. I'm just a concerned citizen protecting a pregnant nurse. What happens after that is self-defense." Clara looked at him. Really looked at him. This wasn't some impulsive hero looking for glory. This was a professional warrior who had made a calculation and decided she was worth protecting. "Why?" Clara asked. "You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. Why risk your life?" Barton was quiet for a moment. Cooper sat beside him, amber eyes tracking every movement in the room. 15 years ago, I was a cocky young SEAL who thought I was invincible. I made a mistake on a mission in Iraq, got my entire team ambushed. 3 men died because of my ego." His jaw tightened at the memory. I was ready to eat my gun when my commanding officer sat me down and told me something I've never forgotten. He said, "The dead don't need your guilt. They need your service. Honor them by being the person who shows up when someone else needs saving." Barton looked at Clara. "You were willing to die rather than help criminals. That's rare. That's worth protecting. And if I can stop what happened to me, watching good people die because evil people had power, then I'm gonna do it." Clara felt tears threatening. She blinked them back. "What do I do now? I can't go home. Bruno knows where I live. He'll send people. You go home," Barton interrupted. "Pack a bag, essential items only. Then Cooper and I are moving you to a safe house while we figure out how to end Frank Bruno's operation permanently." "A safe house? For how long?" "However long it takes." Patricia finished bandaging Clara's cut. "You should listen to him, honey. I've seen what Bruno does to people who cross him. You need to disappear until this blows over." "It's not going to blow over," Clara said. "Men like Bruno don't forget, they don't forgive, and they definitely don't stop." "Then we don't give him the chance to come after you." Barton pulled out his phone. "I'm calling my team leader. We're going to need backup, surveillance, and probably a tactical plan to dismantle Bruno's entire network. You can't just watch me." While Clara packed her essentials at her apartment, Cooper standing guard, alert to every sound, Barton visited the ICU to check on his teammate. Vito Joe had been in a medically induced coma for 2 weeks. Helicopter crash during a training exercise in the Nevada desert. 3 vertebrae fractured, massive internal bleeding. The doctor said he might never wake up. But Barton knew Vito. If anyone could beat the odds, it was him. The ICU was quiet at 3 a.m. Monitors beeped. Ventilators hissed. Nurses moved like ghosts between beds. Vito's room was at the end of the hall. Barton entered quietly, expecting to find his friend still unconscious. Instead, his eyes were open. "About damn time you showed up," Vito croaked. His voice was weak, but his spirit clearly intact.
"Vito?" Barton rushed to the bedside. "When did you wake up? Does the doctor know? Should I—" 20 minutes ago. Vito tried to smile, winced at the pain. "Haven't told anyone yet. Wanted to see if I was hallucinating before I got their hopes up." "You're not hallucinating." "Good, because I have information you need." Barton frowned. "Information about what?" "About why I was in that helicopter. About what I was investigating before the crash." Vito's eyes were sharp despite the pain medication. "Barton, I was put in a coma deliberately. Someone tampered with the helicopter because I found out something I wasn't supposed to know." Cold dread settled in Barton's stomach. "What did you find?" "A connection between our base's medical supply chain and a drug operation in Las Vegas." Vito coughed, pain flashing across his face. "Someone's been stealing military-grade pharmaceuticals and selling them to a drug lord named Frank Bruno." Barton's blood turned to ice. "Frank Bruno? You're sure?" "Positive. I had documentation, shipping manifests, emails, names of officers taking bribes. I was about to turn it over to NCIS when my helicopter went down." "Where's the documentation now?" "Encrypted and uploaded to a secure server. But there's more." Vito grabbed Barton's arm with surprising strength. "Bruno isn't just running drugs. He's behind the murder of Marcus Castellano." "The Las Vegas billionaire who was killed 6 months ago?" "Same one. Castellano owned a logistics company. Bruno wanted to use it to transport drugs into schools. When Castellano refused and threatened to expose him, Bruno had him killed and made it look like a robbery." Barton's mind raced. This was bigger than he thought. This wasn't just about protecting a pregnant nurse. This was about dismantling a criminal empire that had infiltrated law enforcement, medical facilities, and military installations. "Vito, I need you to send me everything you have. But first, I need to make sure you're protected. If someone tried to kill you once, they'll try again. I know." Vito managed a weak smile. "But I'm not the one you should be worried about right now. If Bruno knows you interfered with his operation tonight, he's going to come after you and that nurse with everything he has." "Let him try." "Barton,
Vito's voice was serious now. Frank Bruno isn't just some street thug. He's smart, connected, and absolutely ruthless. He's been building his empire for 20 years. You can't take him down alone. I'm not alone. I have Cooper. Cooper's not just a dog, and I'm not just some operator playing hero. Barton's voice hardened. I spent 15 years fighting terrorists overseas. Now I'm going to fight them here, and I'm going to win. Vito studied his friend for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, I'll send you everything I have, but promise me something. What? Promise me you'll be smart about this. Don't go in guns blazing. Plan it, execute it, and make sure that nurse and her baby survive. I promise. As Barton left the ICU, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You made a powerful enemy tonight. Sleep well, Commander, while you still can. Barton smiled grimly. He texted back. I don't sleep. I plan. And by the time you realize you should be afraid, it'll be too late. He deleted the message thread, pocketed his phone, and headed back to Clara. The war had just begun. The safe house was 30 miles outside Las Vegas, hidden in the desert hills where civilization gave way to sagebrush and silence. It belonged to a retired SEAL who owed Barton a favor. Clara sat on the worn couch, clutching a cup of tea, watching Cooper patrol the perimeter through the window. How does he know what to look for? Training? Instinct? Experience? Barton checked the security cameras mounted around the property. Cooper's worked in 5 combat zones. He's detected IEDs that sensors missed, taken down insurgents twice my size. But more than that, he understands threats. Right now, he's cataloging every sound, every smell, every movement. If anyone comes within a mile of this house, he'll know. And then what? And then he alerts me, and we deal with it. Clara set down her tea. Her hands were shaking. This is insane. 2 days ago, I was a nurse worrying about hospital staffing and nursery colors. Now I'm hiding in a safe house because a drug lord wants me dead. You're hiding because you did the right thing. Barton sat across from her. Most people in your position would have treated Bruno's girlfriend and hoped to survive. You chose principle over survival. That takes courage. It takes stupidity. Same thing sometimes. Barton almost smiled. The line between courage and stupidity is usually determined by the outcome. What's the outcome here? How does this end? We expose Bruno. We dismantle his operation. We make sure he never threatens anyone again. That's impossible. He's too powerful, too connected. So were the warlords in Afghanistan. So were the cartel leaders in Colombia. So were a dozen other enemies I've faced who thought they were untouchable. Barton leaned forward. Power isn't permanent. It's maintained through fear and complicity. Break one, and the other collapses. How do we break it?
We find his weakness. Every operation has one. A supplier who's nervous. A lieutenant who's greedy. A secret that, if exposed, brings the whole house down. Clara thought about the wounded woman, Sophia. About the look in her eyes. Not loyalty, something else. The girlfriend, Clara said suddenly. Sophia. She didn't want to be there. I saw it in her face. She's trapped. People in Bruno's world usually are. What if we could reach her? What if she's the weakness? Barton considered this. It's possible, but approaching her would be dangerous. Bruno keeps his inner circle under constant surveillance. Then we don't approach her, we make her come to us. How? Clara's mind raced. 15 years of nursing had taught her to read people, to understand their needs, their fears, their breaking points. Sophia's wound needs follow-up care, the kind of care she can't get from Bruno's street doctors. If it gets infected, and gunshot wounds almost always get infected without proper treatment, she'll need antibiotics. Real ones, not whatever black market garbage Bruno's suppliers can provide. You want to use her medical need as leverage? I want to offer her a way out. Clara met Barton's eyes. If she's trapped like I think she is, she's looking for any opportunity to escape. We give her that opportunity. In exchange, she gives us information about Bruno's operation.
Barton was quiet for a moment, considering. It could work, but we'd need to make contact without Bruno knowing. I know nurses at every hospital in Las Vegas. If Sophia shows up at an ER, I'll hear about it. And if she doesn't, then we wait. Patience is how you survive being 7 months pregnant. It's also how you survive being hunted by a drug lord. Cooper returned from his patrol, moving to Clara's side. He pressed his head against her leg, offering comfort. Clara scratched behind his ears, feeling the softness of his fur, the warmth of his presence. "Thank you, Cooper, for everything." The dog's tail wagged slightly. "He likes you," Barton observed. "That's rare. Cooper doesn't trust easily. Maybe he recognizes a fellow survivor. Maybe he recognizes someone worth protecting." The next morning, Clara received a call from Patricia, the hospital nurse. "Clara, honey, I don't know how to tell you this, but something was delivered to the hospital this morning, addressed to you." Clara's stomach dropped. "What kind of something?" "A funeral wreath, beautiful flowers arranged in a circle, white lilies, roses, and a card." "What does the card say?" Patricia's voice shook. "It says, 'For Nurse Bailey and her unborn child, may they rest in peace. Services to be held soon.'" Clara felt the world tilt. Her hand moved instinctively to her belly. Barton was beside her instantly, reading her expression. "What is it?" "Bruno sent a funeral wreath to the hospital, for me and my baby." Barton's expression darkened. He took the phone. "Patricia, this is Commander Charles Barton. I need you to contact hospital security immediately. Have them pull surveillance footage of the delivery. I need to know who brought it, what vehicle they drove, and where they went afterward." "Already on it. Security's reviewing the footage now." "Good. Don't touch the wreath. Don't let anyone touch it. I'm sending a bomb disposal expert to examine it. If Bruno sent it, there might be more than flowers inside." Clara's blood went cold. "You think it's a bomb? You think we don't take chances with a man who's already tried to kill you once." 20 minutes later, Barton's phone rang. A former EOD specialist who owed him a favor had examined the wreath. "No explosives, but there's a GPS tracker hidden in the base. Whoever delivered this wanted to know where it ended up, probably hoping you'd take it home. Can you trace the tracker's signal?" "Already did. It's pinging to a warehouse in North Las Vegas, registered to a shell company. Want me to send you the address?" "Send it, and thanks, Jimmy." Barton hung up and looked at Clara. "We have Bruno's location, or at least one of his locations. What do we do with that information?" "We plan, we surveil, we gather evidence, and when the moment's right, we strike." Clara stood, pacing the small safe house. "How long will that take?" "As long as it needs to." "I don't have that long." Clara's voice rose. "I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm due in 8 weeks. I can't hide forever. I can't raise my child in a safe house, always looking over my shoulder, always wondering if today's the day Bruno finally finds us. Then we accelerate the timeline. How? We make Bruno come to us, on our terms, in a place we control. That's suicide. No. That's warfare, and warfare is what I do best."
Clara is risking her life and her unborn baby to do the right thing. Most people would have run away, would have hidden, would have compromised their principles to stay safe. If you respect her bravery and the courage it takes to stand up to evil, hit that share button right now. Let's spread this story of true courage. And drop a comment telling us what you would do in her situation. Would you fight or would you run? While Barton planned their counteroffensive, Clara returned to work at the hospital, against Barton's advice but with his protection. Cooper accompanied her, registered as a service animal, his presence both a comfort and a warning. In the ER, Clara saw the true cost of Bruno's operation. 3 more teenage overdoses in one night. A mother clutching her son's cold hand, begging him to wake up. A father screaming at doctors, demanding they save his daughter from the poison she'd unknowingly consumed. All of them victims of Bruno's scorpion-stamped pills. "This is why I can't run," Clara told Barton during her break. They stood in the hospital chapel, Cooper at their feet. "Every shift, I see what Bruno's doing, the lives he's destroying, the families he's tearing apart."
She gestured toward the ER. "There's a 16-year-old girl in Bay 3 who's brain dead because she took a pill at a party. Her parents are deciding whether to keep her on life support or donate her organs. A 17-year-old boy in Bay 5 has already been revived 3 times tonight. He keeps dying and we keep bringing him back, but each time there's less of him to save." Tears streamed down Clara's face. "These are children, Barton. Babies, really, and they're dying because one man decided their lives matter less than his profit margin." Barton's jaw tightened. How many? How many what? How many kids have died from Bruno's drugs in the past month? Clara pulled out her phone, accessing hospital records. Based on our ER admissions and confirmed overdose deaths, 43. In 1 month, just in this hospital. And there are 5 major hospitals in Las Vegas. At least, Clara's voice broke. "Barton, we're looking at hundreds of dead children, and that's just the ones we know about, the ones whose bodies made it to a hospital." Barton stood, his expression transforming into something Clara had only glimpsed before. Not anger, something colder, more lethal. "Cooper, up." The dog immediately stood at attention. "We're not waiting anymore. We're not planning. We're not gathering evidence. We're ending this tonight." "How?" "The warehouse, the one Bruno's operating from, we hit it hard, fast. We seize his supply, destroy his operation, and send a message that Las Vegas is no longer his playground." "That's insane. There'll be security, armed guards. You can't just—" "I've infiltrated terrorist compounds in Fallujah. I've raided cartel strongholds in Colombia. I've extracted hostages from situations that had 0% survival odds." Barton's voice was steel. "A warehouse in North Las Vegas run by a drug dealer playing warlord? That's a Tuesday. You'll get killed. I've had worse odds and better enemies." Barton looked at her. "But I need you to do something for me." "What?" "Stay here. Stay safe. Let me do what I was trained to do." Clara shook her head. "No, absolutely not. If you're going after Bruno, I'm going with you. You're 7 months pregnant. I'm also the only person who can identify the drugs he's distributing, the only person who knows what to look for in a pharmaceutical supply chain. You need me. I need you alive. Then make sure we both survive." Barton stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Okay, but you follow my orders exactly. No arguments, no hesitation. If I tell you to run, you run. If I tell you to hide, you hide. Understood?" "Understood. And Cooper stays with you at all times. He's your personal bodyguard." Cooper's tail wagged slightly at the mention of his name. "Okay," Clara took a deep breath. "When do we leave?" "As soon as the sun goes down. Evil loves darkness. Let's give it what it wants." The warehouse sat at the edge of North Las Vegas, surrounded by vacant lots and abandoned buildings, a perfect location for criminal activity, isolated, forgotten, and far from prying eyes. Barton had spent the afternoon conducting surveillance, 4 guards visible from the outside, probably 6 more inside. Light security, which suggested Bruno was arrogant, overconfident, or setting a trap. Barton assumed all 3. He parked 2 blocks away, in the shadow of a shuttered factory. Clara sat beside him, wearing dark clothes and a Kevlar vest Barton had requisitioned from a military contact. Cooper sat in the back, alert and ready. Last chance to back out. Not a chance. Then here's the plan. We approach from the east, using the drainage ditch for cover. Cooper goes in first, neutralizes any guards on the perimeter. Once we're inside, we split up. I secure the guards and any workers. You identify the drug supply and gather evidence. We're in and out in 15 minutes. What if something goes wrong? Then Cooper gets you to safety while I handle the problem. That's not a plan, that's suicide. That's asymmetrical warfare, and it's kept me alive for 15 years. They moved through the darkness, using the shadows and the broken terrain. Cooper led the way, his nose working, his ears tracking every sound. At the warehouse's east wall, Barton gave Cooper a sentry gun signal. The dog immediately disappeared around the corner. 3 seconds, a soft yelp, then silence. Barton moved forward, Clara behind him. Around the corner, a guard lay unconscious, Cooper standing over him. "Good boy.
Barton whispered. He zip-tied the guard's hands and moved to the warehouse's service entrance. The door was locked. Barton pulled out a small toolkit and picked the lock in under 30 seconds. Inside, the warehouse was exactly what Clara had feared. Rows of pharmaceutical supplies, equipment for cutting, mixing, and packaging drugs, and in the center, a production line cranking out thousands of pills stamped with Bruno's scorpion logo. "This is enough to kill half the city," Clara whispered. "Then we make sure it never leaves this building." They moved through the warehouse, staying low, staying quiet. Cooper led the way, his training making him nearly invisible. At the production line, Clara photographed everything: the equipment, the chemicals, the finished pills, the shipping manifests showing distribution to schools, clubs, and street corners across Las Vegas.
"This is evidence," Clara said, "enough to put Bruno away for life. If we can get it to the right people." A door slammed. Voices echoed through the warehouse. Barton pulled Clara into the shadows. Cooper pressed against them, perfectly still. 3 men entered, guards by their posture, armed, alert. "Someone tripped the perimeter alarm," one of them said. "Check the east side." Barton's hand moved to his weapon. Clara's heart hammered so loudly she was certain they could hear it. The guards split up. One moved toward their position. Cooper's body tensed, reading Barton's intent. 10 feet away. 5 feet. 3. Barton struck, silent, fast. The guard went down without a sound. But the noise of the struggle alerted the others. "We've got intruders! Lock it down!" Alarm bell shrieked. Lights flooded the warehouse. Suddenly, Clara and Barton were exposed, visible, surrounded. "Run!" Barton ordered. "Cooper, protect!" The dog immediately positioned himself between Clara and the approaching guards. Barton moved to intercept the 3 armed men converging on their position. Clara ran, her pregnant belly slowing her down, her breath coming in gasps. Cooper stayed with her, guiding her toward an exit. Behind them, gunfire erupted. Clara screamed, ducking behind a stack of pallets. Cooper pressed against her, offering his body as a shield. "Barton!" Clara shouted. "Keep moving!" His voice was strained. "Get out! Now!" Clara saw him, outnumbered, outgunned, but fighting with the precision of someone who had survived worse. He took down one guard, then another, his movements economical and deadly. But there were too many. A guard appeared in front of Clara. Cooper launched himself at the man, teeth finding throat, taking him down in a spray of blood. "Good boy," Clara gasped. "Good boy, Cooper." They reached the exit, a loading dock door that led to the parking lot. Clara grabbed the handle, pulled. Locked. "No, no, no!" Cooper barked, urgent, warning. Clara turned. 6 guards surrounded them, weapons raised. "Drop the dog or we shoot," one of them said. Clara's hands trembled. She looked at Cooper, at his amber eyes full of intelligence and loyalty. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Then the lights went out. Total darkness, chaos, shouting, gunfire aimed at nothing. In the confusion, Clara felt a hand grab her arm, not rough, gentle. "This way," a female voice whispered. Clara followed blindly, Cooper at her side. They moved through the darkness, around corners, through passages Clara didn't know existed. Finally, they emerged into the parking lot. The stranger who'd helped them stepped into the moonlight. Sophia, Bruno's girlfriend, the woman with the gunshot wound. "Why did you help me?" Clara gasped. "Because I'm done being trapped." Sophia's eyes were hard. "And because you're the first person who tried to save me instead of use me." Inside the warehouse, the lights came back on. Barton emerged, bloodied but alive, dragging 2 unconscious guards. He saw Sophia and immediately raised his weapon. "Get away from her." "Wait!" Clara stepped between them. "She helped us. She cut the power." "She's Bruno's girlfriend." "I'm Bruno's prisoner," Sophia corrected. "There's a difference." Barton studied her for a long moment. "Why help us?" "Because I want out. Because I'm tired of being part of a machine that kills children. Because Clara looked at me like a person, not property." Sophia's voice broke. "And because I have information, everything you need to destroy Frank Bruno, his operation, his connections, his secrets. In exchange for what? Protection, witness protection, a life that doesn't end with me in a ditch somewhere." Barton lowered his weapon. "Deal. But if you're lying..." "I'm not."
Sophia pulled out a flash drive from her jacket. This contains everything: financial records, distribution networks, names of every cop, judge, and politician on Bruno's payroll, and proof that he murdered Marcus Castellano. Clara stared at the tiny device, such a small thing to contain so much destruction. "Is this enough?" Clara asked. "This is enough to burn his entire empire to the ground." Sophia pressed the drive into Clara's hand. "Use it. End him. Make sure no one else suffers because of him." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "We need to go," Barton said. "Now." They ran, Clara, Barton, Cooper, and Sophia, disappearing into the Las Vegas night, while behind them, Bruno's warehouse burned. The final battle was coming. The flash drive contained everything Sophia had promised: names, accounts, evidence, enough to dismantle Bruno's entire organization. But Barton wanted more than evidence. He wanted justice. "Bruno's hosting a poker game tonight. High stakes, invitation only. All his top lieutenants will be there, including Capone." "Where?" Barton asked. "His penthouse, top floor of the Palazzo Hotel, highest security in the city." Clara shook her head. "We can't infiltrate that. It's impossible." "Nothing's impossible," Barton said. "Just improbable, and I've made a career of doing the improbable." They planned for 6 hours. Sophia provided the building layouts, the security rotations, the access codes. Barton designed the approach. Clara identified the evidence they'd need to secure. And Cooper? Cooper would do what he always did: protect and serve. The plan was simple. Sophia would return to the penthouse, claiming she'd been kidnapped by Bruno but escaped. While Bruno's guards checked her story, Clara would enter as a medical concierge, a service the wealthy used to avoid hospital visits. Barton would come in as her security escort. Once inside, they'd secure the digital ledger containing all of Bruno's operations. Then they'd signal the FBI, agents not on Bruno's payroll, carefully vetted by Barton's military contacts, to raid the building. Simple, clean, suicidal. "This is insane," Clara said for the 10th time.
"Insane is letting Bruno continue killing children," Barton replied. "This is just aggressive problem solving." At 9 p.m., they made their move. Clara wore a professional business suit that barely concealed her pregnancy. Barton wore a security uniform that barely concealed his weapons. Cooper wore a service dog vest that didn't conceal anything. He was exactly what he appeared to be: a weapon waiting to be deployed. The palazzo's lobby was opulent: marble floors, crystal chandeliers, security everywhere. "Medical concierge for Mr. Bruno," Clara announced at the desk. The guard checked his tablet, frowned. "We don't have you scheduled. Mr. Bruno called personally. Urgent matter. If you'd like to tell him you turned away his medical professional." The guard's eyes widened. Nobody wanted to be the person who disappointed Frank Bruno. "Top floor, penthouse suite. Security will escort you from the elevator." They rode in silence. Cooper sat perfectly still. Clara's hand rested on her belly, feeling the baby kick. Barton's hand rested on his concealed weapon. The elevator opened. 2 guards waited. "Weapons," one demanded. Barton handed over his visible sidearm. Not the knife in his boot, not the ceramic weapon in his ankle holster, not the garrote in his belt. Amateur mistake by the guards. They assumed what they could see was all that existed. They were wrong. The penthouse suite was everything Clara expected: expensive, ostentatious, reeking of blood money and corruption. And in the center of the room, sitting at a poker table surrounded by criminals pretending to be businessmen, sat Frank Bruno. He looked up as Clara entered. His expression flickered: surprise, anger, respect. "Nurse Bailey," he smiled. "I didn't expect to see you alive." "Disappointed?" "Impressed. You're either very brave or very stupid." "I'm very determined." Clara moved closer. "I'm here because Sophia's gunshot wound is infected. She needs IV antibiotics. If she doesn't get treatment in the next few hours, she'll die of sepsis." Bruno glanced at Sophia, who sat in the corner, pale and shaking. The infection was real. Clara had seen it when they'd met earlier. "Then treat her," Bruno said, "and then we'll discuss your persistence."
Clara moved to Sophia, Cooper at her side. She opened her medical bag, began preparing IV antibiotics. While she worked, Barton positioned himself near the window, watching, waiting. "You know," Bruno said conversationally, "I respect you, Nurse Bailey. You could have run, could have hidden, could have accepted my offer to look the other way. But you chose principle over survival. That's admirable. Stupid, but admirable. Children are dying because of you. 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, babies who will never get the chance to become who they were meant to be. How do you live with that?" "Easily." Bruno dealt another hand of cards. "I provide a service. People choose to use it. If they die, that's evolution. That's murder. That's business." Bruno looked at her. "You think you're different from me? You think your hospital doesn't make choices about who lives and who dies based on insurance, income, skin color? Please, we're all in the death business. I'm just honest about it. You're a monster. I'm a realist. And now I'm bored with this conversation. Capone, take Nurse Bailey and her friend to the basement. Make sure they disappear quietly." Capone moved toward Clara. Cooper's lips pulled back in a growl. "Call off your dog or I put a bullet in your baby." Clara's hand moved to her belly. "Cooper, stay." The dog held his position, but every muscle was coiled, ready to strike. Barton moved then, fast, silent.